All right, so you've probably been hearing the drums are now being beaten less loud in the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Russia being Gog, according to the Bible, and the beast, and coming from the east, moving west. That somehow or another that they're now, I think they were in Istanbul today in Turkey, discussing some sort of I don't know what they're, a ceasefire or a truce or some possible way in which they're going to negotiate their way out of this. And Zelensky, who has been holding on, is now saying he's willing to give up the option of ever joining NATO, potentially some other things he might be willing to give up as well. And I think that what Russia is demanding, at least asking for, is that they be able to take the whole East Coast Donbass area, including Mariupol, and that they will call it a truce. I don't believe none of that, but I don't trust Russia and Vladimir Putin any further than I can throw a white bear, polar bear at that. Because I just don't believe it. I don't think that. But the thing I want to say to you is that it's not that Russia and whatever lies they're telling, that they're going to back away from Kiev and let people breathe. Maybe. But I think what's worse is that the dung-head media is on the front line fighting for Ukraine. Now, in case you don't know what the dung-head media is, I've not used it often recently, because we've been so involved in the tribulation. But the media, that's everybody that's in the liberal, well-established media, such as New York Times or ABC or CBS or CNN or MSNBC or, 60 Minutes or the Washington Post, the big hitters, the heavy hitters, right? That's what I refer to as the dung-head media. Now, dung is a biblical word that's used throughout the Bible without shame, meaning a man's excrement. Now, you can call it feces if you want, a little bit much for me, but dung is a man's excrement, and it's used in the Bible. It's not a word that is unbiblical. So if I find a word in the Bible, I'll use it. A lot of people say I take the words out of context. That all of a sudden, who died and made you the professor of literary style? Anyway, but dung. So I didn't say this media, this ABC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, Washington Post, New York Times, and all that crowd. They're not only are they the media, but I call them the dung-head media, meaning that their brains are full of dung. You do remember what I just said 2 seconds ago, what dung is. So they got a head full of dung, the media, that's what I call them. And I mean, they're very popular. But what I'm watching now, the Color News Network, I'm sorry, not the Color News Network, but CNN has now got a thing called CNN Plus. You know why they're doing that? Because people can, it used to be years ago with Chet Huntley and Walter Cronkite, you could only get news at 6:30. Yeah, the news is coming on. Everybody home from work, 6 o'clock. All right, here come the evening news. It runs from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Then you got all the sitcoms thereafter. Then 11 o'clock, you get one more shot at the news from 11 o'clock to 11:30, and that's it. No more news to, you might get an early morning broadcast. But now, Ted Turner came up with this thing. 24-hour news, 7 days a week, nonstop with CNN, going back, a generation ago, back in the 1980s. So, but that is fading as well. Everything has its day. Every dog has his day. And people are no longer interested in getting their news from places like, CNN or MSNBC. And many of these organizations are failing nonetheless, because people can get their news from me. They get a version of it from me. But online is now providing a service. So CNN is now going to a thing called CNN Plus. They're going to do live streaming. They're going to use the same cast of characters, the Don Lemons, the Anderson Coopers of the world, to do streaming, which I don't think it's going to fly. I think it's going to sink like a dead lead stone. But on the other hand, you got Fox News, and that Fox is dung-head too. They dung-head is about as dung-head as you can get. There might be diarrhea dung-head, Fox News. But listen, you got, America One News, you got Newsmax, and you got another of these offshoots that are, that come up under the Trump era, and they're taking away a lot of Fox audience. And actually, anybody with a cell phone these days can be a news reporter. It's no longer just the major networks. And I think they're losing money, and I think they can see the handwritings on the wall that they're not going to be around much longer. So they got to change their style. A lot of the people are taking off their neckties and putting on blue jeans. A lot of the women who've been showing their cleavage are now taking it off and putting on a bikini, Try to get some attention. But I think they see the handwritings on the wall that, CNN is not long for this world, or MSNBC or Fox either. They're not long for this world because anybody can now start up a podcast and report, including me. And then you got Facebook that provides a platform. This where you used to have a have to have an antenna station, got to get an FCC license, you got to pay off a lot of people, you got to get advertisers. None of that. Just go on Facebook or YouTube. You go on Facebook and live stream or go on Rumble. You can, and Instagram, TikTok. So all these organizations are dying on the vine. MSNBC, CBS, Fox News, they won't be long this time next year. I don't know if any of them will be here. But the platform, social media platform. Now, Trump has been trying to launch a platform of social media called Truth. I don't know how far he's gotten along with it. I was going to get on it if he had. He said he was going to launch it several weeks ago. It didn't launch it yet. But I think it too is dead in the water. Because though he collected over $1 billion to start this startup, but I think that it's dead in the water because, live streaming, and the only people that are going to live stream on his, and I don't know if Apple will even allow him a icon to be able to go through the Apple store for people to purchase it. But the other thing is the live streaming that people will be doing will be only people who are interested in Trump. I mean, people looking for a broader audience. They're not going. Yeah, but I was going to go there. I was going, and I will go as long as it gets set up because I'm sick of what Facebook and YouTube have done to me over the years. They have actually treated me like a stepchild, like a black stepchild too, by the way, and a white family. Of all LGBTQ, and I'm straight. So, but anyway, going back to that wasn't my main subject. My main subject is that I don't trust Russia. I think Putin is lying through his teeth. I think he's up to something. Talking about he's going to do some sort of a, secession of the war. I think that boy lying through his teeth. And if he does, he still got something up his sleeve and it ain't his arm. That boy's after something. The other thing is that there is no place, there's no way that that Putin can just say, okay, all right. And, but the dunghead media, that you do remember what I said a few months ago, who are the dunghead media, is that they've been on the front line saying, Ukraine is winning. Ukraine is winning. Yet they keep showing all these bombed out cities, bombed out bridges, 4 million people left Ukraine. I mean, Ukraine is winning. Ukraine is winning. Thousands of people are dying. The dunghead media can say, Ukraine is winning. Ukraine is winning. Ukraine is beating the Russians. I mean, what is winning? I mean, I don't see Ukraine going up to Moscow or St. Petersburg. I see the Russian boys shelling. Joe Biden, my time Biden, was over there in Poland the other day. And Putin sent missiles into an oil dump or whatever it is where they keep their fuel, blew that bad boy up only 200 miles away from Joe Biden's nose. Don't look at me like Ukraine is winning. That don't like a win to me. You got 160,000 people in Mariupol that can't get out, ain't got no food, ain't got no heat, ain't got no water, and the Ukrainian forces can't come in to rescue them. That don't look like winning to me. I mean, come on. But you got these dunghead media people. It's a propaganda war. See, I mean, everybody says, we winning. Then the other thing is that you got to check this out. The other thing you really want to look at is this, is that, they're saying the Russians aren't for the war. Well, I don't know about that. Well, you go to Russia, a lot of young Russians, well, they may not be for the war, but they don't call no shots over there. Oh, the oligarchs are going to make Putin do this and that and the other. I don't know. The young people, like that, they were like, where you were with the young? I was around during the Vietnam War, and the young people in America wasn't for the war here in America. I guess people didn't care nothing about the Muslims over there when George Bush went over there and invaded Iraq or Afghanistan. But most of the Russians, they want Ukraine to be a part of Russia again. And it's probably good for business, So, but the dunghead media, Russia, they're going to overthrow. And then Joe Biden, by time, said the other day over there at that NATO meeting talking about, for God's sake, this man should not remain in power. Oh, Lord, why did they say that? Now they were accusing him of regime change. Now, that's a fancy word for saying that America is going to look for a way to try to either execute Putin or get him out of office and put somebody in there as a puppet who will lick America's boots. So now that's been dominating the news for the last couple of days. But the other thing about this is that nobody's called on the Lord. No, I think Russian people are pretty much good with this war. Say 15,000, 16,000 Russian soldiers have been killed, 7 generals. I don't believe that either. But that's a dunghead media. They lie. They promote what they want to promote. They want to make Ukraine look like it's winning. That's what they want to do because they're against Russia. The problem is they say, well, Pastor Man, who you for? I'm for Jesus. Let's get that straight, all right? I ain't for none of these people. You say, well, Pastor Man, how could you be so heartless? And, people are dying, the children are fleeing, and women and babies and everybody carrying everybody across the border, and people are cold and sleeping in shelters. And, hell, I see that in Harlem every day. Before I can start being concerned about, before I can be concerned about what's going on in Ukraine, I got to be concerned about what's going on right here in Harlem every day, right outside the church too, by the way. Come on. Well, you don't be, listen, if you got the leisure, and by the way, I'm not that I'm unconcerned, mind you, let's get something straight. It's not that I'm not unconcerned or that I don't care, that I'm unsympathetic. I am. No, I am, but I just, I want to be a hypocrite about this thing. By the way, these gentrifiers running, you ought to see them. Look at them, they pinch nose. You ought to see them being interviewed on television. By the way, who was that was on television the other day? These 2 women with enough horsehair, I swear before God, called Jamel and Kaney or somebody, was on television the other day. This woman, this is a Hamite woman, right? She had on enough horsehair. I swear before God, years ago, when we were living in the hood and you didn't have enough rooms, you didn't have a door to the room, a little old railroad apartment, they would put up beads. And so when you go through one room to another, you push the beads aside and the beads come back together. This, I swear, that woman, like she had a door beat and all horsehair. She all had it dyed gold and talking about she's for the black people. I swear, this is some of the sickest stuff I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, so what was I talking about? Oh, yes. I have concerns about what's happening I have concerns about what's happening in Ukraine. The people are suffering. I do. But I got concerned about, so the gentrifiers are up here, right? These Japheth people, right? You ought to see them jumping up and down. They were down there in Washington the other day in front of Lincoln Memorial. Stop the war. Stop the war. Stop Putin. And that Putin is invading a sovereign people's land and pushing people, making them refugees. So I'm looking at all these damn hypocrites. So look what they're doing up here in Harlem. They did the same thing here in Harlem. Came up here with their money, which was their tanks, their banks, which were their artillery, came up here with their developers and their pensioners, Negroes, in the community board, and just took the community and made people, if you will, homeless right here in Harlem. And now they want to get all up in the air about the fact that Putin's doing the same thing that they did in Ukraine. So But I think what I was trying to communicate today, before going off on several other things that I went off on today, that I can leave you with a consistent thought, is that number one, nobody's calling on Jesus. Until you call on Jesus, ain't no point to ask me to help. Ask Jesus. Until they're willing to say that, that Jesus is, And then the other thing is I've been warning everybody that the same thing you see happening right here in Ukraine and it's coming to America. It might not be tomorrow, next month, but you're going to see, according to my Jesus, he said there are going to be wars and rumors of wars. That's according to Jesus. And the same thing you see happening here in Ukraine, it's going to happen here in America. And so it is not that I am unsympathetic. I see the people dying and the children crying and everything. People getting on trains. And I think it's awfully noble of Poland to be able to accept 4 million people. Romania, Slovakia, Moldova, and Poland are the borders of the Ukraine. And they're taking these 4 million people and another 4 million on the run. So here, okay, let me leave you with it. Here's what I drove up to tell y'all. If Putin is planning some sort of a ceasefire, it's because he recognizes that he's bombed all the buildings everywhere. And if he bombs Kiev, he won't have any place to set up his puppet government. He'd have to build all new buildings, all new structure. And the other thing is this, is that if he completely annihilates the place, which he has the capability to do in one day, then what's the good of having a land? They got no buildings, no infrastructure, no water, no electricity, no fuel dumps, no government offices, no bus station, no roads. So he's going to stop. If he's done enough, it's like Washington take over a country, especially Kiev. It'd be like bombing all the buildings in Washington, D.C., tearing out everything. Then why do you want to go there? So I think that's what I think. In fact, that ain't what I think. That's what I know. That's what Putin is saying. Well, okay, I'll stop bombing now. I've done enough. You've seen Mariupol. You've seen some of these other cities. They have been leveled. I'm telling you, ain't nothing left standing. But he's left Kiev standing. And the Dung media talking about, well, he can't get into Kiev. The Ukrainian forces are stopping him. Come on, please. Come on, Japheth. Come on, Dunghead Media. Please. He can't get into Ukraine. I mean, to Kiev. You done lost your mind. So, I think that's what's happening. And I think he said, well, if Zelensky, whoever he is willing to give up the Donbass, and besides, ain't nobody coming back. You done lost an entire workforce. Who you going to get to work? Who are going to drive the bus? All the policemen are gone. All the wives and children are gone. You got to stop. Putin said, I can't kill everybody. If I kill everybody, then you get the idea. I'm repeating myself. Is that right?